Thank you very much, and what a wonderful start to the day. So hello, and my name is Catherine. Thank you for inviting me here. What a wonderful place to be, and fantastic that you could all still make it despite all that is going on. So I start off with a happy International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. We are here to celebrate. It talks about the whole event being about celebration. So here we are, really building on what's going well, looking to the future, and just keeping that momentum going, getting that voice for both nursing and for midwifery, not only here in Northern Ireland, but all around the world. I'm delighted to be here as part of a team to give a keynote presentation, and we have with us as our team who are sitting down here and will join us throughout the presentation, and I'll introduce them as they come along. But being part of a team is quite an unusual thing for a keynote speaker, but I would say to all of you who get the opportunity as a senior nurse or a midwife to invite others to join in and share their experiences too. So welcome to Billy, Alana and Laura, and thank you for contributing as we go. So I was asked to talk about nurses and midwives tackling 21st century global health issues. And hey, how topical that is right now. Only a few months ago, many of you in the room would not have considered yourselves having a particular role in global health. Your job may be by the bedside or leading those who work very close to patients in communities and within hospitals. However, all of a sudden, we've become very aware of just what a small place this world is and how easily things move and transmit from one part of the world to another. So every year, the World Health Organization puts out what it considers to be the top threats in global health. And I'm sure on this list are things that previously you may not have been considering too much in your day-to-day role. But actually, I think that even more so right now, you will be able to connect your work into these globally important issues. That was the list that came out last year. It changes slightly by the year, but there is nothing on there that we as nurses and midwives cannot say is our job to be involved and part of, whether it's the climate change issues, which again, even more so more recently, we consider to be part of our job and affect our job. All of the things, non-communicable disease, 70% of deaths globally are caused through non-communicable diseases. What about antimicrobial resistance? Every one of us in this room should be a guardian of antimicrobial resistance, and I hope that you are and take that really very seriously. The Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of them. I know many of you will have not considered this to be something that was part of your role to be achieving these global targets. I implore you, it is our job. Northern Ireland is signed up to delivering on these 17. In the middle, you'll see number 3, this health and well-being. I want to slide number 3 back out to where it belongs between 2 and 4, and I want to put nurses and midwives right in that dinner plate in the middle. We are the heart of what is going to make these goals and universal health coverage achievable. Without us, as the workforce, doing the job that we need to be doing, as part of a team, a multidisciplinary team, these are not going to be achieved. But remember, it is like a Rubik cube. Every time we move something in the way that we work, whether we introduce new ways of working, new roles, new advanced practice, new technologies, invest in primary care, taking away from acute care where it's traditionally been, removing beds to put our resources out into the community. We must remember the effects, the unexpected laws around effects and change that happen with a Rubik Cube game. When you move one thing, everything shifts. So let's also think about what we have to stop doing in order to do things differently and in a new way. And when we talk about the interconnectedness, this was just a few weeks ago, the floods in England, and gosh, I've waded my way through a few puddles here in the last days too, but this is a nurse, Susan, in Gloucestershire, a district nurse, doing her job. You know, taking with her the resources she needed to be able to get to those, what we might term as hard to reach patients and communities. They were literally hard to reach, but it was nurses and midwives that were out there doing that. So if we don't think climate change affects us, think about all these things. We have the nurses in Mexico fighting the virus right now, and the effects emotionally, physically, this is having on us as our workforce. And it will come here too. You may be those nurses and midwives that are having to do just this difficult task. War-torn environments where, you know, nurses and midwives and other healthcare workers put their lives right there at risk. But again, how interconnected has all this brought us with the COVID-19 virus? I bet you have never felt so close to those countries around and the people that we are meeting and so on. Strengthening our healthcare system is very much a part of our role. Whether we've seen it to be that previously or not, let us take this very, very seriously. You know, and when we look at all of the sustainable development goals on there and the effects that all of that has, let us think, you know, how do we make that real to us here in Northern Ireland? Think of the draft programme for government. You know, all of those 17 things are interconnected in that programme of work, whether it's gender-based violence, whether it's homelessness, whatever it is that you are dealing with and tackling, it's all there. And, you know, we do need to be part of that. Global success right now depends on us making sure that the weakest link in health emergency preparedness is there and ready and supported. We can be as strong and as good as we like right here, but if the other countries in the world are not, then we are in that same boat too, and we can see that happening right now. The $3 billion target, I don't know how many of you have heard about this, but this is the top level, the highest structure and the strategy for the World Health Organization, for the direction in which we are all aiming to move, aligning the structures and processes to keep the world safe and to serve the most vulnerable. Let's look there from healthier populations, health emergencies, which many of us never thought we were part of, health coverage, universal health coverage. That means accessible, acceptable health and healthcare for all, for everyone all around the world. And let's bring that back to Northern Ireland. Let's think about the migrants here. Let's think about the homeless populations. Let's think about those people. Are we actually providing them with that care that they need and have a right to, a human right to be part of? I was involved in 2018 in setting up this piece of work here. It was about nursing and midwifery and getting that rapid response, the key response to how would we all contribute to achieving universal health coverage. Billy was part of that work, and a global project was set up to do just this, led by Lord Nigel Crisp. And the top things that he came up with throughout the report about what was it that we needed to do. Now, this is globally, but think, how does that fit here with Northern Ireland? There were 5 key things that they said, if we are going to, as nurses and midwives, help to achieve that global target, what have we got to do? More nurse-led services, tackling NCDs, non-communicable disease. Well, if 70% of deaths around the world are caused by non-communicable disease, then we have to be an absolute part of that. Nurses and midwives, strengthening primary and community care. Well, we're doing that here. Your nurse-led services, your district nursing, your family and nurse partnerships, all of those things that are going on out there. But you need even more. Number 3, specialist nurses and nurse practitioners, advanced nurse practice roles. They're coming here. You've got some. You need more. You need to be part of driving that. You need to make it happen. Developing and strengthening maternity services all around the world. More investment in midwifery. Many places, many babies and mothers are still dying, and they should not be. There should be no unnecessary deaths. What more can we do to drive that? And provide more health promotion and disease prevention. We need every nurse and midwife to consider that public health promotion, prevention, is part of your role, part of your business, whether you work in an acute setting or you're out there in the community. It is down to us. The social determinants of health are our business. How do we help to change the culture on all of that? So, leading up to all of this work was the Triple Impact of Nursing report. I'm sure many of you will have heard of that report. I hope that you have by now. It was produced by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Global Health, led by Lord Nigel Crisp, the former chief executive of the NHS in England. He said when he finished that role that he was disappointed in himself that whilst he was doing that, one of the biggest jobs in the world, he had not recognised that more investment, more needed to be done about nursing and midwifery, that they were a powerhouse of driving forward good health. And so he put together a global group, and there the report came out, October 2016. In the report, it was about these 24 million nurses and midwives globally. They make up half of the professional healthcare workforce. In some countries, African countries, for example, we'll be looking at 80% of the professionally, the qualified workforce are nurses and midwives. Now, if you want to make a difference and you know the 80-20 rule, then you know where you need to put your effort and your investment, nursing and midwifery. But in the report, what it came out with was that the nurses and midwives felt that they were systematically undervalued and unable to work to the top of their license. They'd had good training, they knew what to do, but actually many of them were almost handmaidens to doctors. They were running around. In Pakistan, for example, there are 4 doctors and 1 nurse. Well, that is not going to work in the way that we, as nurses and midwives, know how to deliver the care to patients and communities. And the triple impact, why was it called triple impact? Those sustainable development goals, it said that nurses would really improve health and well-being, number 3, just by the work we do, impact number 3, promote gender equity and strengthen local economies. Many nurses are women. We know that. If I look around the room here, we are gender heavy, as it were. Now, there's several issues in that, and that around the world it raises the knowledge, the education, the ability of women to earn and to serve their communities. They are steeped and live and work in the communities they are in, and therefore it strengthens the economies in which they live and work. It also had very interesting findings that they pushed out in an evidence-based way to say the unique contribution of nurses was those 3 things: the intimate hands-on care, the closeness that nurses and midwives give, that person-centred humanitarian value, that holistic approach that we bring to the families, to the communities in which we serve, and not forgetting the qualification, the professional knowledge that nurses also have. And we pushed out on that, and from that report came the campaign, the global campaign, Nursing Now. I'm sure you will all have heard of Nursing Now by now, and if not, well, by the time you go home today, you certainly will. The global launch across 4 continents, just 2 years ago. It seems like a lifetime, actually. We've done so much, aiming to raise the status and profile of nursing all around the world. I say nursing, it was set up as a nursing campaign. It has extended beyond that, and the reason it was only called nursing was because in many countries those professions come together and they integrate as nurses and midwives. A 3-year campaign, so to run up to the end of 2020 because of the birth celebrations of Florence Nightingale, in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the International Council of Nurses. And that gave us a global platform. And it's based with the charity, the Burdett Trust, who you may have heard of because they do fund other things. So they gave us, in the campaign, a very small amount of money to start off with. And how proud I was to have been invited and had the post to actually lead that. I led the launch, which was in London, but across 4 continents by all sorts of technological ways of getting us into different countries and bringing different countries onto the stage. So a very, very proud day, but how exciting. So Lord Crisp here, Baroness Mary Watkins, who many of you will have come across, a mental health nurse by background. I missed the young lady. The next one with her flower in her hair. Does anybody know who we have there? The lady there? Elizabeth Iro. You look out for these people now. You'll see them on the news even, particularly with the virus stuff. They are out there and speaking. She always wears a flower in her hair. She's the chief nurse for the World Health Organization. A wonderful lady from the Cook Islands, one of the smallest places she could have come from to take the biggest nursing job in the world. Annette Kennedy, the president of the International Council of Nurses. And at the end, we have a doctor. She is the Director General of Health in Uganda, Dr. Diana Atwine, and a real supporter for nursing and midwifery. And important here that we do not just have nurses and midwives talking to nurses and midwives, because we've done that for too long. It makes no difference. We run around in circles. We have to have other professions. We have to have a very mixed environment. And of course, the lovely lady in the middle, who is our patron for the entire campaign, for the world, not just for England, but for the world, Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge. And there she was, shining a light on what it was we were trying to do for us, and a very, very exciting and proud day for me to have that opportunity. She was lovely, 7 months pregnant and still wearing high heels that I told her off about and all sorts, but she was absolutely delightful. So the things that the campaign was out there to do to create a movement of energy and motivation and incitement all around the world, changing policy. We want nurses and midwives to understand how to change policy, how to get a seat at the table, how to have a voice and how to use it. Working not only with very senior nurses, but nurses at all levels, promoting and developing that influential leadership. Nothing about us without us. Keep that in your minds. Don't let us wonder why we're not there. Get ourselves there. Pull up that chair. Be at that table. But it is our role to do that across all 17 of those Sustainable Development Goals. Strengthening impact. That's about research. Why is nursing not a STEM? Why is it not there on the table? Why is it not among those top level of influence and interest? Increase investment in nursing and midwifery, and you've certainly been trying hard to do that here in Northern Ireland. You've been using your voices and your feet, but we've got to do that worldwide in order to achieve those triple impact that it states we will have. So this gender stuff, it's not all about women, it's about men too. And getting the voice of men in nursing recognised and as part of it. We're in it together. This is a profession. It's not male nurses and female nurses, it's nurses. We are all here. And I've been out and around the world in many places, and there they are, really impactful male nurses doing fantastic jobs at all levels, but let's us support the work that's going on here and drive forward as we go. I'm enjoying that, and you've got a very strong movement for it here in Northern Ireland. You are showing the way, but let's share that around the world. So Nursing Now is a truly global campaign. At the last figures, it was in 115 countries. Now that is really quite impactful. There were 535 Nursing Now groups had set up in all 6 regions of the world. Some of those places I've been lucky enough to be invited to go to, but they are there in the highest of levels, from Princess Muna in Jordan, who supports nursing and all that it does. Qatar, Uganda has been out in force and done an awful lot, one of the leaders of this work. China, they are there, and thank goodness they are strengthening nursing, because now they need it more than ever. And this is where we will show just what we as nurses and midwives can do and do. Malaysia, they've had the biggest, Korea had the biggest celebration, but Malaysia, as you can see, in Israel and Morocco and Kenya were out on the streets. They had trombones playing, which I was delightful about because I play the trombone. But I was delightful that they had things going on. Thailand, lots and lots of hospitals and nurses involved there. And as you can see, Pakistan. I was in Pakistan for the launch of nursing now with the president of Pakistan and the director general of the World Health Organization. What a privilege to be part of driving forward something that was absolutely remarkable for a country like that to be doing. Korea, that's where they had the biggest parties yet. But here in Northern Ireland, you had your own show, and you launched your Nursing Now campaign. And there we are with Professor Charlotte McArdle, who's probably still dashing in and out, and launched on the 17th of January 2019. I was asking Mary Frances McManus to remind me when it was launched. She said, it was my birthday. It's always, everything seems to happen around my birthday. So there we go. Focusing on those key priorities for you, and that's the important thing of a global campaign, that you bring it down to make a difference here on the ground to the populations you serve and the nurses, midwives and the teams that they work in. Homeless health, valuing diversity, enabling professionalism. Those are your key things, and looking at men in nursing too. But the person that came to help you do that, Sir Michael Marmot here, and this is just what he says. Nurses are the most trusted group of people, and rightly so. They treat individuals with compassion and care, and have great potential to improve the health of communities through the actions on the social determinants of health. He wants to know why you treat people in the hospital or a place, and then you send them back into the same difficult social issues, problems that they came from. But I'm going to invite up now Billy Rosa. So welcome to Billy, and he's going to talk to us more about some of the work that he's involved in here with the team from Northern Ireland, with Charlotte McArdle and Mary Frances McManus, and of course with Sir Michael himself. Thank you, Billy.
Good morning. I would have settled for good morning, but the applause was nice. So back in 2005 to 2008, Sir Michael Marmot led the World Health Organization Commission on the Social Determinants of Health. And in that report, they wrote that social justice is a matter of life and a matter of death. They wrote, "We watch and wonder as life expectancy and good health continue to increase in parts of the world, and in alarm as they fail to improve in others." And this was a key takeaway for me. They wrote, "A girl born today can expect to live for more than 80 years if she's born in some countries, but less than 45 years if she's born in another." So these inequities in health, these avoidable inequities in health, arise because of the circumstances in which people grow, live, work, and age, and the systems put in place to deal with illness. So the conditions in which people live and die are in turn shaped by the political, social, and economic forces that we are experiencing. So I'm here to talk about this incredible project that I'm working with Dr. Catherine Hannaway and a group of esteemed colleagues. This is my Twitter handle. Please feel free to follow me. If you're not on Twitter, I encourage you to get onto Twitter, start to exercise your voice in this year of the nurse and the midwife. So our paper this year is going to be focused on creating a set of guidelines for nurses and midwives to really tackle the social determinants of health, these issues around social justice, to advance health equity. And it will be released at the World Innovation Summit for Health in Qatar. It's a special report that they've commissioned in honor of this celebratory year. So our co-chairs are your chief nurse, Charlotte McCardle, Mary Frances McManus, who's right here at the front table, principal investigator, Dr. Catherine Hannaway. I am honored to be the lead researcher for the report, and of course, Sir Michael Marmot will be our expert senior advisor. So back in 2015, Sir Michael led a report called Doctors for Health Equity, and it was really for the World Medical Association. And in it, he collated just mounds and mounds of data, case studies, in order to identify what physicians, what national medical associations, and what the World Medical Association could do to improve social determinants of health attention and address these issues throughout care and throughout the world. And in it, he identified 6 domains. And so the report that we'll be working on is going to replicate these domains in a sense. We're going to stick to these 6 topic areas. But I think of 2 things when I look at these 6 domains. The first is how they really serve as a thread of Nightingale's work. When you look at these domains, Nightingale addressed all of these issues in her care for the poor, her advocacy for the vulnerable, her international work at the healthcare level and moving beyond sectors. And the second is how important leadership capacity building really is. So we need to promote leadership capacity building throughout nursing and midwifery if we're going to achieve these. So the domains are 1, all about education and training. How does our education and training in nursing and midwifery need to expand? How do we need to conceptualize health differently so that we're preparing nurses and midwives to work in both acute care and community-based settings to address these social determinants? 2, monitoring and evaluation. I recently found out at a conference we were just at that Nightingale was the first female fellow to be accepted into the Royal College of Statistics. This is in our heritage, right? How do we prepare each other not just to go out and collect the data, but how do we promote nursing science? How do we promote nurses to be the researchers in the field? 3, how do we work with individuals and communities to really get at the underbelly of the root of illness at both the individual and the collective level? Number 4, how do we work with healthcare organizations as our employers, as our managers, and as commissioners for the work that we so desperately want to do? Partnership. Partnership is a big one. So partnership is the 17th Sustainable Development Goal. Partnership within the healthcare sector, between sectors, right? We need to make sure that the partnerships we create are sustainable, mutually beneficial, inclusive, respectful. And last, how do we really raise our voices as advocates? How do we change our conception of what advocacy really is, not only at the institutional level, but at the tables where decisions are made? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Billy, and how privileged we are to be part of that piece of global work. It will be launched in Qatar, but it's relevant all around the world. So 2020, the WHO Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. The first State of the World's Nursing Report is going to be launched very shortly, and Heather, where is Heather? Heather's been involved with that work, but you know, it's going to 7th of April, which is World Health Day, and there will also be the State of the World's Midwifery Report, which will be revised next year. Why these reports? Why at that global level? To inform investment, to inform policy, to make sure that we have that data, we know the numbers, we know the figures, we know what it's all about in the workforces. So look out for what that's saying and how you will implement that locally. So again, we've got Elizabeth Eero here, our chief nurse for the world, chief nurse and midwifery too. She heads up the whole of that department. And Dr. Tedros, who is absolutely right behind nursing and midwifery, and he put up that it would be the year of the nurse and the midwife. So how are they celebrating this? Well, all around the world. This is the garden in Geneva now. It's covered in pictures of nurses and midwives and the care that they give. Absolutely wonderful. Lots of cakes. That's me cutting a cake in Kenya. Loads of cakes, especially with the African communities, all celebrating and sharing and saying what they do. And of course, you had your own celebration in the north. We even had a new minister specially for it. So there we are, Minister Robin there, who hopefully we might see more of later on, but celebrating in January, and I don't know how many of you there. This is the start of the year to come. So in various countries, they're doing interesting things, and in Spain, they've got stamps There's a tartan, that's in Scotland. And just to prove it, when we were with him a week or so ago in Dublin, some of our Nightingale nurses were there too. Lord Crisp was proudly wearing his tie. He says there's only 2 of these ties. When he said there was a new tartan, I thought he was going to come in a kilt. I was very excited, but he came in his tie. He said the only other person to have one is Dr. Tedros. So we think it must be a very valuable thing to have. And, of course, the Pope, who has joined in all of this celebration and says that he's very pleased that the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife is on the agenda too. So it's happening everywhere. And as part of this, we set up the Nightingale Challenge. I remember well the day I put that paper to the global board, could we think about doing this? And that it was born. And that was only in June 2018. So here we are, and it is all around the world. What Elizabeth Eero said was invest in the leadership potential of the next generation of nurses and midwives, and they will change the world. So here we are. What is it? Well, you've got it here right in Northern Ireland. It's viral. We don't say that very often at the moment, that things are going viral around the world, but luckily Nursing Now and the Nightingale Challenge is. Every employer of nurses and midwives around the world, hospitals, primary care, whatever it be, was asked, would they sign up to the challenge that they would offer at least 20 young nurses and midwives an opportunity of some leadership, policy making, training during 2020, a global movement to equip that future generation of senior leaders, because they already are our young leaders as practitioners and advocates for health. So here we are. The latest numbers we've got down there, 71 countries are taking part in this. 26,000 and more young nurses are already taking part in some of this leadership development, championing influential care, with the more senior and experienced nurses mentoring and helping and supporting. And, you know, for many of us in the room, that is our role in all of this. Don't feel we're excluded and missed out. No, we are there to guide and lead and support and care for. It's happening everywhere, and there's young nurses, just like the movement for Nursing Now, have really got engaged in it. And here we are in Northern Ireland. We've taken the challenge too. There's much going on, and I'm sure you'll hear more about it as we go through it. But the MSc in Nursing Leadership, the RCN Leadership Programme, and we also have what is called the Global Leadership Development Programme. And all the trusts have taken a great interest in this. And this is just one of your trusts here that set up its Nightingale programmes. And on there we have 5 of the nurses taking part from the trust there about global health. And they've joined another cohort. So we've got a whole 30, and this was where we launched. The 30 young nurses from across the 5 trusts and across the hospice here too. And some of us invited guests and speakers at the first event that we held. So I want to invite 2 of our participants on the Global Leadership Development Programme to join me up here and just tell you a little bit about what they're doing, how it's going. It's only just started, and there's a lot to get through. So come on up, Alana and Laura, and welcome to the stage to share your experience.
Hello there, my name is Alana Davito, and I'm a midwife in Causeway Maternity Unit in Coleraine within the Northern Trust. Hard act to follow after Catherine and Billy, but I'll try my best. My passion for health promotion and midwifery began long before I started my career. It was back in 2010 after the birth of my first daughter. Really, as a service user, the huge impact and the positive care that I received has made such an impact on me, my life and my family. I qualified in 2017 and have been a passionate and enthusiastic advocate for women and their families that I've cared for since. I've always had an interest in public health and midwifery and maternity and also global health. Therefore, to partake in this programme has been a real privilege and honour. My main objectives and aim really is to embrace all opportunities throughout the year, even if some of them take me outside my comfort zone, such as today. I'm certain that this will strengthen my commitment to influence and improve care provision, public health and the user experience. This will not only be within my own workplace, but also hopefully further afield. Throughout this experience, we are taking part in workshops, majority of them held in the CEC in Belfast. During these workshops, myself alongside the other participants on the programme, we have the opportunity to engage and listen to some inspiring speakers from throughout Northern Ireland and further afield. This learning then is obviously shared amongst my colleagues within the ward that I work in, and also online globally, hopefully, via Twitter. I have also been very fortunate to secure a place at the Triennial Conference held and hosted by the International Confederation of Midwives, and this is to be held in June in Bali. That's if I get. This opportunity really is amazing, and it will definitely shape and transform my outlook on global midwifery and women's health. I am also hoping to run a quality improvement project within my own trust area, and I'll be starting work on the ground on this month. So, as I've said, I'm sharing all my experiences throughout Twitter at Alana Davito, and if any of you already follow me, you might have seen I've done some hand washing to Jolene. You can take part in that as well. I will continually engage and update with my fellow colleagues within my trust, my mentors and my senior managers. And I've also recently started a midwifery blog, which hopefully will be live and up and running very soon. And that'll give you a wee bit more into information into who I am, my personal journey into midwifery, and just a wee bit more of a personal account of my experiences to date. I want to take this opportunity to thank not only Caroline Diamond, my head of service, for allowing me and giving me the time to partake, but also to Catherine Hannaway, Charlotte McCardle, and also Mary Frances McManus for developing such an exciting and inspiring programme that will carry me through my career. I hope you connect and engage with me throughout this year and use the hashtags Let's Talk Midwifery Up, Let's Talk Nursing Up, and the Year of the Nurse and Midwife. Thank you.
I've had the hardest act to follow. Thank you very much, Catherine. My name is Laura McLaughlin, and I'm a mental health nurse. So I graduated in 2010. So 10 years qualified, it still leaves me in the category of being a young leader, youngish. I suppose when I did graduate, nursing employment in Northern Ireland wasn't as good as it is now. So I began my career working in a local nursing home. And then after about 9 months to a year, I was lucky enough to get a temporary contract working within the female acute inpatient mental health unit in the Tyrone and Fermanagh Hospital in Omagh. So stayed there about a year and then got another temporary contract in the male side. Stayed there for about 2 years, and in between times worked in the psychiatric intensive care unit in Omagh. So then I thought, look, I want a wee bit of a challenge. I started getting the itch for more learning. And I applied to the mental health liaison team in Craigavon and was lucky enough to get the post for 3 years. And it was here I started meeting people that, like myself, were young, enthusiastic, and just keen to progress and learn a bit more about mental health and personal development as well. So after the 3 years, I had heard that the Western Trust were commencing their crisis resolution home treatment team covering Tyrone and Fermanagh, and because that was home for me, I felt that this was the right thing to apply for, which I did. So I went with the notion that I was joining a team, but when I got there it was myself and one other nurse. Flooding, they call it, but looking back it was probably the best thing to happen to me. We set up a service by, I suppose we talk about global now, but we went around the region and we spoke to teams in different areas of Northern Ireland, and we tried to gain knowledge, skills and experience. We were last to the party in the Western Trust, so I felt in a way it was a good thing, because all the pitfalls and the challenges that other teams had experienced, we were able to, I suppose, notify those and deal with them accordingly. And we had the support of, I felt, the region. There was lots of good connections and it was great. So after a year working as a band 6 within the team leader's position came up, and I thought, well, I've nothing to lose, so I applied for it and successfully got it, and I stayed within that role for almost 2.5 years, and I set up the home treatment side of things at that point, which was not without its challenges. It was a steep learning curve, but I wouldn't change it. I met some amazing people, I've met amazing patients, and I feel I've contributed to their health and well-being, and that will always stand by me. Then, I'm a bit flighty, so after January time, there was an opportunity for a secondment within the liaison team in Alton-Galvin, so to set up liaison services in Western Trust. And I thought this is the perfect opportunity for myself, having worked in liaison, having had a passion for crisis. So I jumped at the opportunity, and I did get the post, and I've just been there since the end of January, roughly. So it's a work in progress, and at the minute it's piloting, so we're gathering data and trying to set up a good service that we can replicate then in the southern sector of the Western Trust. So that opportunity coincided with the Nightingale Challenge, so it worked out very well. Massive thanks to Charlotte McGardle, to Mary Francis, Catherine, to my lead nurse in the Western Trust, Martin Carton, for allowing me the opportunity. For me, it was just amazing to meet other young leaders, like-minded people that shared that passion, that zest, that desire. I wanted to learn from other people. I wanted to share the experiences that I'd had so that I could help them. And then I suppose because to date, my experience has been within Northern Ireland, it was interesting then to try and learn globally from other people. So Alana's going to Bali, hopefully. Myself and another mental health nurse on the programme are going to Portugal. It's in September, so hopefully we'll be well round by that. Just amazing to meet role models, people that you look at and you think, God, that's absolutely amazing. Your career's been brilliant. You've learned so much. You've used all the opportunities that have been made available to you. And I suppose just sitting there today listening to Catherine, I think, what a woman. So inspirational. So if I could do half as good a job, I'd be more than content. So with regards to the project that I've chosen, I had initiated a project within the Crisis Resolution Home Treatment team before I had moved to my secondment, and that was to improve the response of staff experiences of suicide within home treatment, because it can be a very difficult and very lonely experience for staff. So staff were invested in this, which made it a lot easier. They seen an opportunity to improve services for themselves and then I suppose in turn patients. So we've began by setting up meetings with different disciplines, looking at debriefing models and developing a toolkit that staff can use to support them in response to suicide. So it is a work in progress, and I suppose due to the secondment I've had to put it on hold a little bit, but I will get back to it, and I do think it's worth investing in. It's something that's transferable not only in mental health but in all areas of healthcare. So I think I'll finish there. I've probably talked over. Thank you very much. I'd love to get chatting to people and meet more people, so pop over, don't be shy, and we can have a bit of a chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done. Very well done. Absolutely fantastic. I know we've got more of our global Nightingale. Can you stand up? Where I can see some of you over there, our global leadership programme participants. I don't know if there's any more in the room. We've got some of our faculty here. We've got Dale here, and I don't know if we've got Heather, but we've certainly got more of you. And I know there's lots of other Nightingale Challenge nurses here too. Where are you? Stand up. You must be more of you here. So all doing things all around Northern Ireland. So do join in. Do be part of it. Network. Mix and meet each other. A fabulous opportunity, and well done to you all for getting on to that thing. So what have we learnt through all of this? What is it? What are the growth points for nursing and midwifery? It's around non-communicable diseases. They're one of our top things. Mind you, you would think communicable diseases might be on that list right now, but the norm. Developing primary care services, that's all of our business. Don't be, hanging on to what we've always done. Don't just keep doing what we've always done, because we'll get what we always got, which was not good enough. Advancing nursing practice, look out for those new roles, help people to develop into them, particularly our younger generation of nurses and midwives, and developing that public health role so that we all know and think that public health, the social determinants of health, are our business. It is us who are at the heart of all of this, taking it forward. The lessons that we've had from all of this so far: Build confidence in our professions, build confidence in our nurses and midwives, just as we're doing with the Nightingale Challenge, but with nurses and midwives everywhere. Build the confidence through doctors and with doctors, through allied health professionals, through other people who are working in the communities. Be organised about this. This is a social movement, but it is an organised social movement. Things don't happen by themselves. We need leadership to take this forward. Focus on the impact of what we're doing, not just what we're doing, but what is the impact. We need the data, we need the research, we need to be able to demonstrate return on investment. We are not a cost, we are an investment. And we need to be very clear about that. Involve non-nurses, I keep saying that over and over again. We want as many non-nurses as nurses in this with us and for us, and involve and empower those young nurses and midwives. There they are, and here they are too. So here we are celebrating our year of the nurse and the midwife, and I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you.